Hey, you lovely lot, and welcome back to Crime Analyst and the Intelligence Cell. And I just want to start by saying a huge thank you to all of you who've subscribed to Crime Analyst. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all your comments. And if you haven't subscribed just yet, then you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. Now, this week I've decided to return to the case of Nicola Bulley. And I think it's important to share with you just some of my concerns that I have about what I've seen happening. Now, I did wonder whether I might see this happening, and sure enough, I have seen some very concerning behaviour, and I just want to share that with you. So firstly, one of the key things that I was concerned about was that Nicola's body was found on Sunday, the 19th of February. Now, her body was identified on the 20th, and what we were then told is that we wouldn't hear any more until probably June about when Nicola died and how she died. Now, that is really important information for all of us because we have all been invested in trying to understand how Nicola just disappeared, what happened, and also the police decision-making in the case, which is important here too. And it really bothers me that we're going to have to wait this very bizarre length of time before we find out the facts about what happened to Nicola. Also, what I was concerned to see, the second key thing, was that Peter Faulding was back in the headlines very quickly. And why he was back in the headlines. Now, Peter Faulding, you might remember, is the CEO of the private search and recovery company called Specialist Group International. And why Peter was back in the media was because now he was becoming the SPOB, or he became the SPOB, I should say. Now, what's a SPOB? That's what I call the single point of blame. And Peter became the single point of blame. And what we learned is that Peter Faulding has now been suspended from the expert database that's held by the National Crime Agency. And he's been suspended and his behaviour is being looked into by the police, by the College of Policing. And yes, I think it's fair to say that questions should be asked about why Nicola wasn't found within the search that was conducted. And let's remember that she was found almost 3 weeks later in the Reeds. And Peter said that that was part of the land search. But he did say that if she was in the water, he would have found her. And that led most people to believe that she wasn't, in fact, in the water. And so he made that declarative statement. And perhaps he shouldn't have made that statement because it led to further speculation. However, I still don't think it's right that under these circumstances, Peter Faulding becomes the SPOB, the single point of blame. Now, having worked in the police culture, that phrase was coined because after every case where something went wrong, the police would always look to find the SPOB, and rarely was it themselves. So I don't want to see that happen here where there's a misdirect and there's a sleight of hand. But I am concerned because I also was aware that this week, and this is the third thing, I became aware that the Lancashire Police and Crime Commissioner, Andrew Snowden, spoke to the BBC, and he said that it was really important that a review was conducted in Nicola Bulley's case because he wanted to understand, and I'm going to quote this, how the narrative got so out of control. I mean, I literally did a double take when I read that, and I'm going to go on and just say more about what he said. He said that the College of Policing were doing a review. Well, I've already mentioned that in previous videos. And he posed the question, how do police maintain control of the narrative when everyone is trying to fill airtime and column inches? I have to say, I was really taken aback reading that, but not surprised. That is not what a review should be looking at. The review should be looking at the decisions that the police took and the context of those decisions being taken, how those decisions were reached. That should be the focus in Nicola Bulley's case. And just to recap some of those key issues for me, and this is my opinion, but I have talked about them before. The fact that Nicola went missing on January the 27th, that was a Friday, well, we know that the river was searched that afternoon. But over the weekend, what I was told by people living in that area was that very little was done over the weekend. And what we learned on February the 15th at the police press conference was that a senior investigating officer was appointed on the Monday. So 72 hours went by. What was being done in that time to find Nicola? There certainly wasn't key information being put out or pictures of Nicola to try and locate her. And that really bothers me that when that happened a week on, and we hear more on the February the 15th press conference, which I'll come back to, but key information was revealed that would have been much more useful at the time when everyone was searching for Nicola. Or were they? That's the question. What was being done? And also on February the 3rd, the police did give more information. They talked more about the timeline, but it was on February the 7th that we heard more about what the police were thinking when Superintendent Riley shared that it was her and the police's working hypothesis that Nicola had gone into the water. But there was no information as to why they thought that she had gone into the water. And that was curious to me and to everybody who was taking an interest in the case. And let's not forget, I was taking an interest in the case, as I'm sure many other people were, because Nicola went missing under very bizarre circumstances. Not very much was being said. And she's a mother of 2 children, and that should be a cause of concern for everybody. So when Superintendent Riley and the police gave more information, they said that Nicola had dropped the children at school, that she had texted a friend to organise a play date, that she had emailed her boss at work, and she had taken Willow for the usual walk down by the river, and she was on a Teams work call, and she just disappeared. And that at around 9:35 a.m, her phone was found still connected to the work call. No camera on, no microphone on, but it was still connected to the work call, and it was found on the bench, and Willow was found as well, and Willow was dry. But there was no sign of Nicola. Now, under these circumstances, we were told, the public, these particular circumstances, but we were also told that the police didn't think it was a crime or that a crime had occurred. They believed that she had gone into the water, and they believed that there was no third-party involvement. That's why people became very interested and concerned about police decision-making given those circumstances. And of course, people should and must take notice and an interest in a case when a mother of 2 goes missing under these circumstances. And I really hope if anything happened to me or anyone that I love, that would be news headlines and people would be interested. So I find it a very odd thing that the Police and Crime Commissioner, Mr. Snowden, is saying, well, why did people take an interest in this case? And how did the narrative run away from the police? Let's not forget the role that the police played in this. As I said before, they asked people not to speculate, and yet there they were speculating. And here we have a Police and Crime Commissioner talking out when people were told not to talk about the case. But yet there's Mr. Snowden speaking out, and he also said that the police were right. They said that she had gone into the water and she was found almost 3 weeks on, a mile away in the water. And that's another contentious point for me because we have to wait for the coroner's findings. We still don't know when Nicola died or how she died. So that seems very premature and presumptuous to say anything on that point. We still need to know those facts about the case. But to me, when I look at these 3 particular things that have happened across the last couple of weeks, it does look to me that the police and Mr. Snowden are trying to control the narrative, and that makes me feel very uneasy. It makes me uneasy because the timing that the Police and Crime Commissioner from Lancashire has chosen to speak out is also at the time where Wayne Couzens, who was a police officer who kidnapped, raped and murdered Sarah Everard, has been back in court on several charges. And what has come to light is that just days before Sarah was kidnapped, raped and murdered, Wayne Couzens had indecently exposed himself to staff, a female member of staff at the McDonald's drive-through. And that was reported both times to the police, and there was clear CCTV images of his car and his vehicle registration index number, and the card that he used to pay for his food was also given to the police, the Metropolitan Police, I should say, and they did nothing. And that is incredibly concerning, because had they have taken those reports seriously, had they have acted, Sarah would have been saved. Wayne Couzens used his position as a police officer to kidnap Sarah. He said that she breached COVID rules, and that's how he got her in the vehicle. And let's not forget that a police and crime commissioner said at the time that it came to light that the killer and rapist of Sarah Everard was Wayne Couzens, a serving Metropolitan Police officer. A police and crime commissioner said that Sarah should have challenged that arrest, which was just absolutely outrageous. The mental gymnastics that are done to blame women is not okay. And we shouldn't just trust what's being said. And what also was being said by New Scotland Yard was that women should consider flagging down a bus if they're uneasy about something. I mean, all these ridiculous things that women are expected to do rather than focus on the problem of male violence. But this, again, to me, is about controlling the narrative. And given the context, it seems inappropriate for the Police and Crime Commissioner of Lancashire to be talking about he wants to understand how the police can better control the narrative in the future, rather than better understand how to do their job more effectively and keep people safe and learn those lessons in terms of decision making and about the investigation and about engagement with the public, because this is all about engagement. And it's really important that the right information is given to the public to help with specific tasks, because after all, this is how most missing persons, rapes, murders, and certainly murders appeal for information of somebody seeing something at the time. It's how most cases are solved. That's how important the public are. And the public shouldn't feel that we can't talk about cases or that we can't spotlight certain things if we see something going on that we think is wrong. And for me, it just seems tone deaf in the context of what's gone on with Wayne Couzens and David Carrick, and there's still many cases that are ongoing. Why should the public just trust the police when we've been shown that it's not just a couple of bad apples, that there is clear misogyny and women are treated badly when they report? That is a very important context for us to understand, and we should ask questions, and there must be accountability. And like I said, I'm very concerned about this sleight of hand going on and this desire to control the narrative and to speculate further, and it's not okay. So I'm going to end there. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I just wanted to share with you my concerns about what I'm seeing, and I really hope that we all pay close attention to every case where women just go missing, and that these cases are prioritised. And I hope we all pay close attention when we are told more about the coroner's findings. So I'm going to end there and just say, until next time, be curious, ask questions, and always trust your instincts.